Chapter 12, The Trail of the Missing. For days, Ethan watched the news like it was a countdown to something he didn't want to name. The headline about the missing students kept cycling. Fresh angles, interviews with worried parents, drone footage of search teams combing the Cascade foothills. Each time the anchor said last known coordinates, Ethan felt the words carve into him. They had gone exactly where he told them not to. He stopped sleeping again. Even when he drifted, his dreams were tight, suffocating things. Echoing footsteps behind him, the glow of the artifact returning just as it had in the cave. Only this time with shapes moving inside it, like shadows begging to be freed. He tried to convince himself none of this was his responsibility. He didn't know those students. He didn't ask them to go. They chose their own risks. But guilt doesn't listen to logic. One evening, after 3 days without rest, Ethan found himself back on Reddit, scrolling through forums, searching for the deleted thread, as if some part of him hoped it had magically come back. It hadn't. His throwaway account was still locked out, notifications frozen mid-sentence. But the username stuck in his mind. U/Strata Studies. U/Paleoglyphs. U/Underhill_Acadia. He typed them into search bars. Nothing. Accounts deleted or wiped clean. He leaned back in his chair. The room felt cold. Almost on instinct, he whispered, "Where did you go?" The silence answered. No, not silence. A memory. That last night in the cave, when he had stood in that trembling corridor holding the artifact as it threatened to tear the earth apart. When the voice had whispered, "Leave now. Never return." The warning wasn't meant for him alone. Maybe it was meant for anyone who disturbed the key. He rose abruptly, pacing the apartment. His brain buzzed with a kind of frantic clarity. He couldn't sit here and do nothing. He had caused this. Indirectly, maybe, but caused all the same. He grabbed his keys. He didn't even remember locking the door behind him. The drive back. The Tulane Highway curled through the Cascades like a dark vein. Evergreen forests pressed tight against the road, their branches clawing at the thinning daylight. It was late in the evening, the sun settling behind a ridge in a bruised smear of purple and red. He cracked the window. Cool wind whipped his face. The smell of pine, damp soil, and coming rain filled the car. It should have been calming. It wasn't. Every mile felt heavier, like the road itself was pushing him back, like something deep in the forest knew he was coming. The students' faces kept flashing in his head. Smiling photos from a news article, full of excitement and potential. Kids chasing mysteries they didn't understand. He muttered to himself, "You should have stayed home." The song on the radio faded into static, then cycled back to a familiar melody, one he hadn't heard since the day he went into the cave the first time. Sublime, smoke, 2 joints. His knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. A coincidence. Just a coincidence. He shut it off. The world outside the windows dimmed as he climbed deeper into the mountains. Shadows stretched between trunks. Mist twisted low across the asphalt like a warning. He didn't care. He had to know what happened. At the trailhead, Ethan pulled into the gravel lot near the cave trail. 2 Ranger trucks sat near the entrance, lights off but still occupying space like silent sentinels. A yellow ribbon was strung across the path. Search team boundary tape. He killed the engine. His breath fogged the windshield. The forest was quiet. Not dead, just watching. He stepped out of the car. The cold air hit like a slap. A search and rescue volunteer stood near the map board, scribbling notes on a clipboard. She had a tired look, the kind that comes from too many hours looking for people who may not want to be found. "You can't go up there," she called cautiously. "Area's restricted." Ethan swallowed. Those missing students, the ones from the university. Has anyone found anything? Her posture softened. A sigh escaped. They found a makeshift camp near the ridge, but nothing else. It looked like they left willingly. Ethan's stomach nodded. Willingly. She nodded. No signs of struggle. No animal tracks. No signs they were lost. It's like they just walked deeper into the mountains. Together. Ethan felt a numbness spread through his arms. Did they leave a note or equipment? Her brow furrowed. That's restricted information. He stepped closer. She stiffened. but he kept his voice steady. I know where they were going. Her eyes widened. How? He inhaled shakily. Because I'm the one who told them about it. Her clipboard slipped from her fingers. For a moment, she stared at him with a mixture of shock and fear, as though he had just whispered a crime. He looked at the ribbon blocking the trail. I need to go up, he said quietly. You can't. I have to. Even he heard how desperate he sounded. She hesitated, picking up her clipboard. She looked like she wanted to say more. Ask why. Ask how. Ask what the hell he thought he'd find. But instead, she took a small step back. The search team will be back at sunrise, she said. If you know something, anything, tell them. Ethan nodded, but his chest was already tightening with a rash, consuming certainty. He wasn't waiting. As soon as a truck pulled out of the lot, a plume of dust rising into the dusk, Ethan ducked under the yellow tape. The forest swallowed him whole. The trail of footsteps. Night crept fast through the trees. His flashlight beam carved a narrow, trembling tunnel of white through the darkness. The path looked almost identical to the day he and Miles first came out here. Same moss-slick stones, same sprawling cedar roots snaking across the dirt, but it felt different, like the mountain was holding its breath. He moved quickly, driven by panic more than courage. At one point he found footprints, forceps, leading deeper into the forest. Heavy boots, fresh enough that the recent rain hadn't erased them. He followed without hesitation. Wind pushed through the trees, rustling branches like distant whispers. The deeper he walked, the more the forest changed. The trees grew thicker, closer together, their trunks wide enough to block the horizon, moss draped between branches like hanging curtains. A strange smell drifted through the air, metallic, warm, almost electric. After nearly an hour, he found something, a torn piece of fabric caught on a branch. Blue, like one of the students' jackets from the article photos. His heart hammered. They were here, he whispered. Thunder rumbled somewhere in the valley. The forest exhaled around him. Fog curled between the trunks. Thin at first, then thickening, swirling his ankles. He looked ahead. The fog grew denser the closer he got to the cave entrance, so thick it looked alive. A shape loomed through the white veil. Stone, dark, familiar, hungry. The cave. The voice he didn't want to hear. As Ethan approached the mouth of the cave, the fog thickened into a pale wall. His flashlight beam cut only a few feet before dissolving in the mist. The entrance yawned like the open jaws of something ancient. His breath trembled. He hadn't been back here since the collapse. He hadn't wanted to, but the missing students were somewhere beyond that darkness. He stepped closer. The cave breathed warm air onto his face. Then, a whisper slid out of the fog. The same voice he had tried to forget, the one that had once warned him to leave. Return. Ethan froze. His blood turned to ice. The voice came again, low and resonant. Return the key. For a moment, he thought about turning around, running back to his car, leaving this place forever. But he knew he wouldn't. He couldn't. Not while 4 students were somewhere in the dark, because of him. He raised his flashlight. Its beam shook with his hand. And then Ethan stepped forward, crossing the threshold into the fog-choked mouth of the cave, into the dark, into whatever waited. Chapter 13, Into the Hollow. The fog inside the cave clung to Ethan like a living thing. Each inhale tasted damp and earthy, mingled with the metallic tang of stone. His flashlight cut a narrow cone of light, bouncing over jagged walls slick with condensation. Every shadow seemed to twitch in the periphery of his vision, a movement just beyond comprehension. He stepped carefully, boots crunching against the gravel-strewn floor. The cave was silent in a way that pressed against his eardrums, making the faint drip of water somewhere deeper feel deafening. He wondered for a moment if the students had felt the same oppressive awareness, if the cave had reached out to them as it once had to him. The farther he went, the thicker the fog seemed to get. It swirled around his knees and rose in wisps, as if the mountain itself exhaled with every step. The air carried the faint, warm hum he remembered from the artifact, subtle and almost melodic, curling into the corners of his mind. He shook his head. No, I imagined that. It's just a cave. But the cave was not just a cave. A sharp bend brought him to a small chamber where the ceiling arched high and mineral veins glittered like faint stars embedded in stone. He froze. Footprints, boot prints for them, crossed the chamber floor, fresh enough to have been left that day. He followed them with his eyes, heart hammering. They led deeper, toward the hollow where the ground sloped sharply downward. He crouched and ran a hand along the walls, feeling the cold, smooth limestone and the faint vibration beneath his fingertips. "That's not possible," he muttered. "There's nothing under here." And yet, the faint golden glow pulsed beneath the surface, dim at first, then stronger as he descended. Ethan felt it like a heartbeat echoing in his chest. The students had been here. He swallowed hard. His palms were slick with sweat. The voice from before, the warning, echoed faintly in his head. "Return the key." He forced himself to ignore it. Step by step, he followed the trail, deeper into the hollow, down twisting corridors lined with glittering veins of quartz and mica. The air grew warmer, carrying faint scents of wildflowers and damp earth. Impossible, underground. His mind began to loosen at the edges, recalling what the artifact had done to him, the hallucinations that now felt almost prophetic. Another turn, and the passage opened into a vast cavern. Ethan stumbled, mouth agape. What he saw was impossible. A natural amphitheater stretching hundreds of feet in all directions, lit by glowing mineral formations embedded in the walls, waterfalls cascading into pools that shimmered with golden luminescence, and mossy terraces climbing toward jagged peaks inside the cavern. And there, moving with uncanny grace, were the students. They were not in panic, not confused, not lost. They walked as if the hollow guided them, their eyes bright with awe, touching crystals, speaking softly to the cave as though it understood them. Ethan's chest ached with relief and disbelief. They were alive. And then he saw the artifact, or what it had become. The gray rock in his backpack began to shift, edges smoothing, veins of gold and blue reappearing. Faint light pulsing again like a heartbeat. With each step he took toward the central chamber, the glow grew stronger. He stumbled forward, almost dropping the backpack, feeling the hum vibrate through his bones. One of the students turned, face illuminated by the radiant glow of the artifact. Recognition, or perhaps shock, he couldn't tell, but they didn't speak. Instead, they gestured him forward. Ethan's knees trembled. The floor of the hollow was uneven, dotted with crystalline outcrops and small pools reflecting the light like liquid mirrors. Every sound he made echoed, multiplied, then swallowed by the cavern's vastness. It was alive, in ways he could feel in his chest, his throat, his lungs. The central chamber stretched before him, enormous, cathedral-like. Waterfalls fell from unseen heights into iridescent pools, illuminating the far walls in shades of gold, turquoise, and deep violet. Terraces rose on all sides, covered with bioluminescent moss and delicate flowering plants, glowing like stars in a darkened sky. From this distance, the students appeared to be part of the place itself, harmonizing with it, moving in a rhythm Ethan didn't understand but felt compelled to follow. He took a deep breath. The artifact hummed in his hands, stronger now, almost insistent. He felt the pull, not just guidance, but a tug at something deeper, something inside him he had never acknowledged. It was calling him further, into the life of the hollow, into its mysteries. And then he noticed it, an enormous map etched in the stone at the far end of the chamber. Symbols, pathways, and doors interlaced with luminous lines, faintly glowing. The students approached it, tracing patterns with careful hands, murmuring words Ethan didn't understand. He realized then this was not just a cave, not just a hollow. This was a gateway, a labyrinth of paths leading somewhere beyond the world he knew. Ethan exhaled shakily, glancing at the students. They were entranced, focused, but he could see hints of wonder and hesitation in their eyes. They had glimpsed the vast potential of the hollow, and like him, they would never see the surface the same way again. The artifact pulsed violently in his hands. A low vibration ran through the floor. Ethan felt dizzy, almost as if the entire cavern were breathing in unison with him. The students looked at him, silently asking a question he didn't yet know the answer to. And for the first time, he understood. He had chosen to follow. He had chosen to stay. He set the artifact down gently on a crystalline pedestal, and it flared to life, light spilling over every corner of the hollow. The students gasped, touching walls, floors, and plants with reverent hands. Ethan felt the hum of the place penetrate his body, the pull of the light, the call of the hollow. He breathed deeply, and for the first time, the forested mountains above, the missing students, the world he had left behind, all felt distant, irrelevant. Nothing outside this hollow mattered anymore, because this was where he belonged. The artifact's glow wrapped around him like warmth, a living pulse he could feel with every heartbeat. He knelt, placing his hands on the crystalline floor, closing his eyes. The hollow accepted him, and he knew, without hesitation, that he would never return. Chapter 14, The Eternal Breath. Days, or maybe weeks, passed. Time had become a loose concept, flowing in pulses alongside the hollow itself. Ethan woke to the hum of the artifact, the shimmering light spilling over the terraces, and the faint scent of the bioluminescent flora. He ate and drank what the hollow provided, clear, sweet water from underground streams, fruits that glowed softly, and bread-like roots that left a warmth in his chest. Every sensation was heightened, every sound and color vivid, alive. But one evening, while exploring the far reaches of a terrace waterfall, Ethan realized his backpack was empty. He had smoked the last of his stash hours ago. The familiar comfort, the gentle buzz that had grounded him through the initial disorientation of the hollow, was gone. A thin pang of anxiety curled through his chest. I need it. I need something. He wandered, uncertain, until the students, who had now integrated fully with the hollow, noticed his discomfort. One of them, a tall girl with a braid of silver hair that shimmered in the artifact's glow, approached. She didn't speak in words he recognized, but in gestures. She motioned him to follow. They led him past terraces and crystal pools, over stepping stones that glimmered faintly beneath their feet, until they arrived at a secluded glade. There, bathed in the pulsing light of the cavern, grew a single plant unlike anything Ethan had seen, its leaves iridescent, curling like smoke frozen midair, its stems faintly glowing gold. The air around it shimmered, and he could hear a soft vibration, almost like the plant itself was humming. He stepped closer, entranced, and the girl spoke in the hollow's language. He didn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear in the tone, the gestures, the way the artifact in his hands vibrated as if in resonance with the plant. This, the girl seemed to say, is the breath of the hollow. One puff and your need will vanish. The feeling you seek will never leave you. Ethan hesitated. His mind raced, the lessons of the surface, caution, moderation, fear, clashing with the calling of the hollow. He glanced at the glowing students, their eyes calm, trusting. The artifact pulsed stronger in his hands, urging him, guiding him. He knelt before the plant, cupped a leaf in his hand, and inhaled deeply. A warmth spread instantly through his chest, flowing to his fingertips, down his legs, into the soles of his feet. Colors sharpened, sounds crystallized. The hum of the artifact harmonized with 1,000 tiny echoes from the hollow itself. He felt a deep, ancient calm, an understanding that stretched beyond thought, beyond words. Every puff he took, the feeling grew stronger, more profound. Fear, anxiety, and doubt melted into the luminous glow that filled the cavern,